time for everybody to mute yourself if you're not already. So, Bill, are we recording? I guess we are. Well, welcome, folks. This is my Miracles course. It's a year-long program, and I always need to explain it's not based in A Course in Miracles, although I would say it's certainly Course in Miracles friendly. I actually did A Course in Miracles way back in the early 80s, not too long after it first came out, but this course is not that. It really is much more of a modern day mystery school for spiritual mastery. And it's based on my, 5 decades or so of being a spiritual educator of one sort or another, and psychotherapist and minister, and really studying what gives rise to miraculous experience. If you read any of my books, Bill is showing one on the screen, I describe a lot of the miracle experiences I've seen through my travels, through my workshops, through doing these kind of groups with people. I mean, they're mind-boggling. They change reality as we think of it. And that's what I think of as a miracle. It's something that is better than we thought could happen, a bit outside of reality as we thought about it. It's born in unconditional love. It really has a ripple of love that touches everyone impacted. And it makes our lives better. It makes us more of a light to the world around us. So this course is every week in a really different little slant on the whole ginormous topic of spiritual mastery. We take another bite-sized piece. It's set in a circular curriculum, 48 lessons, so almost every week, barring the occasional, we have 5 Wednesdays in a month. Every week, it's set up so that every week feels like a complete experience. So if you drop in occasionally, it's okay. I would say you'll get the most out of it by coming every week, because each week also does build upon the last. This course doesn't have a beginning or an end. It's set within the context of the seasons, because the 4 seasons just provide such a lovely template for the whole of human experience, from birth to, fruition, to death, to rebirth. And each season here, we have a slightly different focus. In fact, this week is kind of a special week. It's the very beginning of the summer quarter. And the summer particularly is dedicated to themes of manifesting. It's when the natural world is producing. There's flowers, there's greenery, there's crops. Life is abundant. It's all about the sweetness of life. It is here. Light, 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 light. And we'll be looking at more of the metaphysical principles underlying calling our goals, our dreams, our heart's desires into physical manifestation. So as we get a new season up and started, let's begin by setting an intention. Everybody just close your eyes for a moment and take a deep breath. Inhale deeply. Exhale deeply. And just breathe yourself fully present in your body, present in this moment. And just imagine that you have left reality as you've known it outside the room, outside the building, and you're here in a new space where anything is possible. We form that space together. And imagine that within this space of possibility, your highest heart's desires are not only possible, but now within reach. And you don't even need to believe this. Just imagine what it would feel like if you did. Imagine what it would feel like if you truly believed that just your willingness to say yes to this journey we're taking together, just your willingness to show up would just be a catalyst, pulling miracles into your life in ways more wonderful than you've ever dreamed possible. What would that feel like? And as you imagine it, just let excitement start to build, well up, let anticipation grow. And now, hold the intention, not just for yourself, but for everybody here, that miracles are now unfolding. Let yourself get excited for all of these other people, people you don't know, people you'll never meet, people you might not even like if you met them in person. But know that simply soul to soul, spirit to spirit, we can love one another, become excited for one another, and create powerful alchemy together. Without needing to believe any of that or even quite understand it, just let it go. Imagine a whole flock of butterflies just whoosh, flying away from all of us in sacred space. And come back. So, as I mentioned, this is the beginning of summer. And now the darker seasons of the year, fall and winter. Oh, here comes Nicole. Great. Call us to internalize more.
Oh, yeah.
Oops, everybody mute, mute, mute. There you go. Hey, Nicole. And the lighter seasons of spring and summer that we're in the midst of now call us more to externalize, to birth things in the physical realm. In the spring quarter that we just completed, we addressed topics related to the seasonal themes of new beginnings and the metaphorical work of planting the seeds of intention that we want to grow in our lives, which is what starts the process of bringing dreams into more fully physical manifestation. Now in summer, as we're coming into summer, we haven't reached the peak yet of the solstice, the curriculum reflects nature's season of abundant growth. And as I said, we're going to do a lot of work with the metaphysics, the spiritual laws around using intention to create prosperity, to create manifestation at a physical level with less work, with less effort. Later in the season, the lessons here will match some of the slowing pace of summer and will include themes of gratitude, of ease, creating more ease in life. Who couldn't use a little more of that? Yeah. And bliss. Who'd like to have some more bliss? Yeah. We tend not to think about bliss as a goal, but hey, it's not bad. It's not bad. And learning to receive, something that a lot of us are not very good at. And it doesn't do us any good to learn how to manifest if we're not very able to receive what we've called to us. So we get into all of those related themes later in the summer months. But this month, June, it's all about the light. The lightest weeks of the year all fall within this month as we're leading up to and following the summer solstice, which falls right around the third week in June. And here we're going to be building toward a special manifesting ritual, not this week, not the next week, but the week after that, in our third week of June. And this time of year, it's hard not to feel the energy of building light. In the same way that the dark of winter might leave some of us feeling kind of depressed, a little bit listless. We pull out our sad lamps, so that we can correct our seasonal related depression. This time of year, we're more likely to feel restless and a little bit more sleepless as sunlight is hitting us in the face earlier and earlier every morning. So this week's lesson is going to be kind of a deep dive into the light. And, when you think about light, it's so pure, it's so primal. It's maybe one of our most used metaphors. And we use it to represent clarity. I saw the light. Or goodness, come to the light. Come to the light. Come to the light side. Of course, we use it as a metaphor for spirituality and for salvation and protection from all things dark and frightening. Now, in the winter, here we look at some of the power, in fact, the healing power of darkness, because darkness has its own potent power. But we so often, it's such a cliche almost, to connect light with all that is good and wonderful and giving and divine. Now, from the world of science, we know that light, energy, and matter are all variations of the same thing. And as quantum science demonstrates, that most of reality goes on at a level imperceptible to human senses. It's also showing that the very underpinnings of the universe consist of a field of light. Back in the 1970s, there's a very distinguished physicist by the name of Hal Puthoff. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly. It's spelled Puthoff. Puthoff. I think that's right. Who pioneered a study into the mysteries of this underlying energy field, and it was named the 0 point field. And he's since been followed by many, many others, just studying what is it, how to tap it. And the 0 point field essentially is the energy left in a space when all possible matter and energy are removed. The remaining field comprises literally a supercharged sea of light backdrop to everything. And physicists have theorized that if we learned how to tap it, it could become a limitless energy supply, meeting all of our current needs, even enabling Star Trek-like space travel, all kinds of futuristic things could come out of just tapping the 0 point field. Now, another well-known physicist, Richard Feynman, suggested that, I'm quoting him here, the energy in a single cubic meter of space is enough to boil all the oceans in the world. I mean, think about that. The unlimited energy of the universe. Physicists now they see it, they know it, they've identified it. They haven't quite figured out how to tap it, but they know about it. Science is showing what metaphysics has pronounced for eons. Now, another really different glimpse into the light comes from the growing body of research on those who've had near-death experiences, meaning people who have clinically died, been revived, and often tell a very similar story of coming into contact with a mystical light. And these experiences are profoundly transforming. They leave survivors forever changed, with immeasurably higher zest for life than the general population, more apt to have psychic abilities, maybe even more intelligent, less susceptible to depression and things like that, with virtually no fear of death. And it could be that this brief clinical death actually releases these individuals from the limitations of physical perception. In the same way we can't physically perceive the 0 point field, perhaps clinical death releases us so that our consciousness is no longer limited by that barrier. And we become enabled to have a direct experience of the 0 point field. Now, interestingly, the mystical light that people describe, it isn't cold or neutral. Again and again, those who've seen it tell of a light that's powerfully benevolent, a light of unconditional love. So we're seeing this picture take shape of a limitless living energy field of light, of love, one that's everywhere but invisible to our physical senses, very benevolent, just pregnant with, just unlimited energy and love. I mean, to me, that sounds like a description of God, or at least the kernel of truth that religions strive to define in their own interpretations of God. Now, science writer Lynn McTaggart hinted at this benevolent, mystical nature of the universe in some of her concluding remarks in her book, The Field. And The Field is an excellent book to read if you want to know more about the 0 point field from more of a cutting edge science. Lynn McTaggart is a science writer, but she really particularly writes on the science of consciousness, really out there consciousness. Her books are amazing. And The Field goes deep into what is this field out there and discusses the whole notion that maybe consciousness doesn't live in our physical brain. Maybe our brain is more like a computer, and our consciousness lives, in the cloud, on the web, and the internet out there, the World Wide Web. Interesting stuff. I talk a little bit about that in my book, The Breakthrough Point, too, if you want a less science-laden version. So she said in her conclusions in The Field that scientific thinking now promises to give us back our optimism as we realize we aren't simply alone in an indifferent universe. And to quote her here, she wrote, "Far from destroying God," she says, "science for the first time was proving his existence," end quote. Now, scientists are working on machines to extract energy from the 0 point field, and they may someday succeed. I mean, why not? Why not? But there could well be a much more commonplace path into the field, one that's accessible to all of us. If, as near-death accounts suggest, unconditional love is synonymous with the sea of light underpinnings of the universe, and if what religions refer to as God has some corollary in the 0 point field, maybe tapping the field happens naturally as we practice unconditional love and as we open ourselves to the sacred, that sacredness of life. All of the most well-known miraculous healers who've been studied will ultimately report that the real fire of healing is love, that's what ignites the healing forces, the healing juices. There's that excellent book, what is it? The Shaman, the Medium, the Mystic. I think it was one of the groundbreaking works studying in an anecdotal way healers. Gosh, I can't remember the author's name, but it came out way back in the 60s. And he quoted one particular healer talking about that's it. And all of these different healers he interviewed just talked about how they just joined with people in love. That's why when I teach healing and when I teach healers, I've met so many people who feel that they have to go through this training and this training and this training to learn how to be effective as an energy healer, when truly the essence of it is just being willing to absolutely unconditionally love and join with another person at that realm. That just awakens everything. That's why whenever we get together, I always preface a lot of our spiritual work with, let's come together with one another in love, because that's what taps this limitlessness of abundance. There are so many examples of that out there. Let me see. In the printed materials, I won't go deep into it here, but Mother Teresa, I thought, was kind of a good example of that, because she was all about, if you read accounts of her works, she had all of these near saves, where she just manifested at the last minute enough money to keep doing her work, which for her wasn't so much about running an organization. She was really about loving the Christ in everyone, in the poorest of the poor, in just loving. Like Jesus said, what you do for the least of us, you do for me. And she lived that. And that is how she tapped into the miracle nature of being able to hit on all these rich people and get them to give until it hurts, as she would put it. And that's how we do it. We by simply focusing on unconditional love, we move into a vibration which connects us with something much bigger than ourselves. And we're going to do some spiritual work with this. But, since June, I'm giving so much focus on the spiritual principles of manifestation. I do want to talk a little bit about popularized teachings on the law of attraction. And I attend a small Unity church. It's a very sweet little church in Ocala, very teeny, lovely community. But, I still hear people talking about The Secret and, law of attraction teachings that are at least 20 years old, more like 40 years old, and then some, even going back to 100 years old. And I think that there's a way that those teachings are needing to evolve. And a big difference between manifesting, using the law of attraction, as it's typically taught, and what I think of as miracle making, is that while miracles may well heal us and bring all of our heart's desires to fruition, they're not really about the outcome of getting what we want. Miracles are such a direct experience of God that they change us. They don't merely produce an effect. I talk here from time to time about popular teachings being a bit out of date. One way is that they typically try to present nonlinear concepts in a linear way, particularly with regard to time, which we've worked with here a bit now and then. Science is showing time to be completely illusionary. The whole premise that we have to read the book, practice the exercise, change our consciousness, and then we'll see results manifest. It all goes out the window when we're working out of time. When we work outside of time, as we've been doing often in our work here, we might see the result first and do the exercise later through an intention we sent back in time to ourselves. I think I described an anecdote, a story sent to me. I think this was just a few weeks ago that I got into this. A guy who was reading my first book, Holding a Butterfly. And he woke up one day with a sore throat. And it was really bad sore throat. He even thought, okay, I think I need to make an appointment with my doctor. Maybe I got strep. Maybe I need an antibiotic. And then suddenly around, mid-afternoon, poof, it was gone. He just felt better. He canceled his appointment. He was just, great. Now, the next morning he woke up and he had a tiny bit of a sore throat back. And so he was sitting down to meditate in his little meditation spot. And the book, Holding a Butterfly, was sitting right there next to his little altar. So he just picked it up and randomly opened it. And he opened it synchronistically to a chapter on healing. And it was about healing a condition at its root rather than in the moment. And he was a spiritual guy, so he wasn't totally blown away at the perfect synchronicity that, okay, he needs some healing. So he opened right to the chapter on healing. Yay. But then as he was reading into the healing, the exercise guided him to send healing forward in time to 2 p.m., to every 2 p.m. In fact, I think we did this last week, didn't we? I can never remember. I think we sent to a lot of 2 p.m.s here last week. Yes, we did, Bill says. And he realized, OMG, that's right when my sore throat went away yesterday, because we sent it back in the exercise, sent it back in time. then you sent it forward in time. Just so he was just a great little example of, yeah, time, very illusionary. Lynn McTaggart's book, The Intention Experiment, is her book that goes into a lot of the science on time. Very, very mind-boggling stuff. Lynn McTaggart, The Intention Experiment. That actually came after The Field. Both great books. But, you know, in many ways, a lot of those teachings on how to use spiritual law and the power of intention to get more of what we want haven't changed since the 80s. And some of those teachings came from early 1900s teachings. You know, and they're out of date. I think this century, more than we've seen in a long, long time, it's calling us to have a collective experience. Now, my second book, The Breakthrough Point, goes into why I think that, all the signs of it in the real world, not just, you know, me channeling the Lords of Zeno or whatever, you know? No, it's not me channeling the Lords of Zeno. It's just looking at a lot of real world changes we've been going through that are telling us it's your time, humans, to come together if you want to remain powerful. If you want to keep surviving as a species, you must come together. And this is true of these metaphysical teachings as well. Now, teachings of old, it's not that they're wrong. You know, those 1980s Louise Hay, Shakti Gawain, The Secret, even though that came out later, is kind of based on all those same teachings. They teach, first of all, the importance of self-love, which is a very good thing. They teach us that it's not a selfish or a bad thing to desire and to receive abundantly from life. This is all good. And these were things we really needed to learn, particularly back in the 80s. We were coming from a very different era. And those teachings also teach the power an individual has to change one's own reality. Also very important, something we need in our toolbox. Once those were assimilated, though, what those teachings don't get into is an even greater truth that the quickest path to personal fulfillment is through joining in love and showing up for each other. That amplifying effect that I'm talking about. It's not just selfless, it's efficient. You know, there's this much told spiritual teaching story of heaven and hell, where hell shows people at an abundant banquet table and they're all miserably starving to death because they all had these really, really, really long spoons, and they couldn't get the spoon into their mouths. The spoons were too long, and so they were starving. And heaven showed the same banquet table, abundantly filled, the same spoons, another group of people sitting around it. But here at this table, everyone is feasting and smiling and happy because they're all feeding each other. Here, try a bite of this. Nom, nom, nom. Oh, yes, please, and try this. Yeah, it's as simple as that. And I believe, as I keep saying, this is the way humanity is moving, the way we're evolving as a species. So just getting our visualization book making our vision board, doing our affirmations, listening to our meditation tapes all by ourselves, just wanting, I want what I want, God, I want to get it. I want more money. I want my good job. I want my perfect, I want it now, God. I want it. I want it. You know, it doesn't take us there as powerfully or as quickly. It doesn't create the highest vibration. Because what often happens is that once we identify what we want, the original vision is a love vibration. It's a, oh, I love that. That's so lovely. But then that expansive state, the more we keep focusing on it, can be difficult to hang on to. And it can really devolve into a state of attachment, where we go from, oh, wouldn't it be lovely, to, when am I going to get that? Where is it? When's it coming? Is it ever going to come? I never get what I want. You know, it can be a real downward spiral. And all of a sudden, instead of just living in the moment in a place of joy and love, we're worrying about a future outcome. We're fearing that it'll never happen. We're just going into a real, limited vibration. But when we go into that, that would be lovely. And then we shift attention to, and I want the same for you too. I see your heart's desire and I see you receiving everything that's for your highest good. And that makes me happy too. We stay in a higher vibration. We amplify one another. There's something much bigger that happens. We remain magnetic to our highest good. And, it's a lot easier to get excited for someone else without feeling attachment to their outcome. Attachment is death to manifesting energy. It just takes it into a black hole. So I'll give you, for those of you who are new, there are extensive written materials that go along with each one of these live classes, and I will tell you how to get to those at the end of tonight. So I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and skip some pieces here, because I want to get into our spiritual work. This is where we take all the talk and we put it into practice, and we change vibration and start miracles unfolding. So knowing that this could be a life-changing moment for all of us here, just close your eyes and take some deep, quiet breaths. Relax. And just as you watch your breath, let it help draw your attention inward. And as you move within, just gently let your sense of identification shift from the density, the limitation of the physical plane, to the bright, clear energy of the 0-point field that is our true nature, that is the true nature underlying all matter. And as you make this shift, and it's a simple shift in perception, but it changes everything. You begin to leave behind the limitations of dense matter. And you can start to see all the cells of your physical body light up, become radiant with the energy of the 0-point field, that benevolent energy of light and love. And all the particles now, even the tiny particles that make up the cells, are becoming filled with light, less dense. The molecules, the atoms, the subatomic particles are all spreading out and vibrating in beautiful light. And as you leave the density of matter behind you, you enter a realm of unlimited possibilities, where time and space have no bearing. And you can see now the bright energy of all the others here in this class tonight, joining you across the illusionary boundaries of space and also across time, because time is more fluid than it appears. Imagine all those who've been part of this Miracles Course community in the past. There have been hundreds and thousands already who've already sent love forward in time to us. Imagine they are all with us, as well as those from the future who will someday be part of this exercise and this circle created by our intention, this community created simply by our intention. We are that powerful as we think it. It is so. And each soul comes together as a bright light, bringing only the highest and the best that they are. And imagine us all now vibrating together, enjoying consciousness beyond the illusionary limits of space and time, each of us bringing only higher love to the whole. And this joining is beautiful, sacred, and awe-inspiring, and filled with the potent energy of feel how much more powerful we are together. Our joined intentions quicken our growth, awaken our intuition, and heighten our magnetism to our highest good, so that what has seemed difficult in the past will now come more easily. And you can start to feel, maybe as a actual body feeling, vibrating in every cell. Maybe you can feel the power of our network growing stronger and stronger. This is how we open that portal to the divine. And now to really tap it, to bring it down into manifestation. Just allow your imagination to start running free, and allow to come to mind some of the most perfect moments of love that you have ever experienced. Moments of love so powerful that you feel filled up and content in the moment simply by recalling them. And of course, if you can't think of any such moments, it's okay to recall moments that haven't happened yet in linear time. You might be remembering something that's going to happen in your future. We can do that. Imagination can take us everywhere we've never been in real-time experience. And now just imagine loving life so much that you can't wait to jump out of bed in the morning and you go to sleep feeling grateful and fulfilled simply because life is good. You don't even have to fill in the details of why. Imagine the most perfect day in nature where your mind becomes quiet and you can't help but just drink in the beauty all around you, smelling it, seeing it, hearing it, maybe taking in breathtaking scenery or the most beautiful garden, the most perfect day with flowers and fragrance and birds singing, butterflies flying, bees buzzing, the very air charged with peace and the sweetness of life. And you breathe it in, absorbing it into every pore, and all you can feel is joy and gratitude. And now imagine the inspiration and the reverence, the savoring of a fine work of art or music that lifts you out of yourself, beauty that touches your heart and soul and moves you to the core. Or it could be the experience of being in a spiritually charged, sacred place, or in the midst of a beautiful spiritual experience where the presence of God is palpable and awe-inspiring, and you give yourself over to it. And imagine now just melting into the loving embrace of someone you love dearly, who loves you just as much. You don't even need to know who this is again. You might be remembering someone you haven't met yet. And just relax into the deep comfort that comes when love and trust and familiarity are all present. And feel the joy when chemistry and compatibility are there. And just imagine sharing laughter that just won't stop or be controlled. Feel it in your body. Imagine sleeping peacefully at night because life is good and you are so loved. And now imagine holding a small child or a puppy or a kitten or a tiny creature who just relaxes into you with complete trust. And you feel how soft and sweet the little body is against you, how unconditionally this small being loves and trusts. Imagine loving so deeply that tears come, and see if you can feel this in every cell of your body. And now picture the energy of the 0-point field. Picture it as a field all around you and within you, an ever-present, invisible sea of light that contains unlimited potential. And what's more, it's inherently intelligent and kind. So just imagine the very air around you being alive, being filled with love for you, the air around you, holding you in love and kindness and wisdom, holding you in the most intimate embrace, just like those loving arms you imagined earlier. And you relax completely, softly, into this loving energy, just like the small child filled with absolute trust. You relax into love, because this is how you tap the field. And this energy is having a very real effect on you, body and mind. If you're in need of a healing, this will give you a boost. But don't try to focus on anything. Just be the tiny child, completely relaxed in loving arms. Let this feeling of relaxing into the goodness of life reach a peak of intensity, so that it's just vibrating from deep within your core, all through you. Life is good. Life is safe. Life is something you can trust and love. And now take that feeling, that energy that's welling up within you, and send it to everyone who's part of this Miracles Course network of souls. Your directed love is an invisible yet very real force. And imagine that it's quietly helping to make life good for someone, for many for whom you'll never meet. And recognize that many people are now doing the same for you. Thousands. Their love quietly making life better for you. And you are so loved more than you know. And we're going to take this experience a step further and direct this love in a healing way. Place your hand on your heart and feel the weight of that physical contact, giving warmth and comfort, and amplifying all of this spiritual light, laser-like directing it. And as you keep this contact of your hand to your heart, imagine a comforting, loving hand gently making contact with your back over the area of your heart. So you feel your own hand on your chest. You feel another hand, loving hand, over your heart in the back. And you can imagine this as the hand of God or the hand of angels. It might be one hand, it might be more. You can imagine it as a loving soul from this Miracles Course network, or just someone in your life who loves you. And you don't need to believe that this is real. Just imagine so that it becomes real in your mind's eye and you feel it as vividly as you can in your body, the warmth and comfort of contact on your back, loving hand or hands washing you with the light of divine love. And you relax into it and let it be. Let it wash away anything you no longer need, dis-ease of body, mind, emotion. Let it all be washed away in this flood of healing love. Just surrender. Surrender to the sensations in your body. Don't think, just feel, be present. Feel yourself start to vibrate in that unlimited way of light, energy, and love. Because a repatterning is taking place at the deepest level of your being, awakening you to love, making you magnetic to your highest good on every level. And again, you don't need to believe any of this or figure out how or why it works. Simply be present in your body. Imagine and allow the power of love to work its miracles. And let your attention shift a bit again. And as you have been filled to overflowing with light, with love, the 0 point field, with God energy, now imagine yourself in a giving role. And picture yourself placing your hands gently on the back of someone in our Miracles Course network of souls. You don't see who it is, you just have a sense of their presence, their light, their spirit. You don't know where in time or space they are, but you do feel the warm connection of your hand over their heart. And with this touch, let the light of divine love flow through you to this person. Send all this love out your hand, softening, comforting, and awakening this person's heart center. Just love this person the way God loves, as if this is the most perfect child and you are their parent, filled with absolute, complete, unconditional love. Loving them not for any reason, just because you can. And knowing that this simple extending of kindness is powerful enough to change this person's life for the better. So again, for this moment, love this person as God loves, as if they were the most precious child, as if you absolutely believe that your love right now is all it takes to transform this person's life. And then let it go. You're going to see everybody in your mind's eye. Picture everybody taking a breath, letting it all go, just like thousands and thousands of butterflies just rising up, flitting away, ready to come back as the perfect miracles at the perfect time in the perfect form. So we did go a little bit longer than usual tonight. So let me just say a couple of announcements quickly. First one is for any of you who are new, I do this class as my volunteer service on behalf of a handful of different spiritual communities around the country. I started doing it during COVID because so many small communities were going through a financial hardship, when they had to close their doors. So I invite other centers to host this. A lot of you found this out on Lake Harriet's meetup. So that would be your spiritual community to trace this back to. So I ask everybody to send a donation for each of these classes to your spiritual community, not to me, directly to them. I also suggest, if you're not already on my mailing list, just get on it. You can either do it on my website. There's a let Lynn know how to get in touch with you, or just send me an email to lynn@lynnwoodland.com. I'm pretty easy to find. Then you'll get a message about this week's class every week in your email box with the link. It'll be very easy to find it again. Also, there is a hidden page on my website that goes along with every single live class. And it's hidden, and you need to use a particular code to access it. In order to get to it, and it goes into a little more depth than I can do here, it will also have recordings of meditations. It'll have a recording of this live class. To find it, go to my website, lynnwoodland.com. Go to the Miracles course option on the menu bar. Click on that. That'll take you to a drop-down menu. And you'll be looking for the first week in June. Click on that. And that'll have a place where you type in a code to access all the content. The code for this week is 29, capital C, capital A. The letters need to be capitalized. So it's 29 CA as in cat. And I do want to mention, I am hoping to get up to Minneapolis or St. Paul, somewhere in the Twin Cities, to do a live weekend, an in-person weekend workshop sometime in the fall. And if you're on my email list, you'll get a notice as soon as I have that set up as to where and when. It would be like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of event. It'll be the first thing I've done in person like this since the very, very, very beginning of COVID, like 5 years ago. So it'll be fun to go back home, maybe meet some of you all for the first time. May also have something percolating in Maryland for any of you. I don't think any of you are from there, or you might know somebody from there. So anyone who wanted a reading and didn't get one, I'll stick around. Anyone who's like on tilt, time to go, you're welcome to sign off. Gina, I see you raising your hand. Unmute yourself, my love. Oh, take